So hi, for those of you that don't know me, my name is Valeria Contreras, and I am the Advocacy Director for A Plus Colorado. DFER and A Plus have decided to partner to interview community members to highlight their work during COVID-19. So with us, we have Sam from Colorado Youth Congress, some students, and Julia, and I'll let them introduce themselves individually.
Hello, I am Juliet. I am the district program associate for DFER, as mentioned earlier. And we're just so excited to have Sam and youth from CYC to join us.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity. I'm Sam from the Colorado Youth Congress. And just for context, CYC is a statewide youth organizing group. So we work with high school students from all over the state of Colorado, and it's all geared towards systems change. So our students will select an issue and really try to create deep transformational change within that issue area. And it's entirely youth-led. And with that, I'll pass it off to Cielo.
Okay, well, my name is Cielo, and I'm from Empower High School, and I'm a member of CYC.
Hi, my name is Rachel Kelly. I'm from Denver School of the Arts. I'm a junior, and I'm a board member on CYC as well as a participant.
Awesome. Thank you all so much. And Sam, so we're going to start with questioning your student. I just want to know, Rachel and Cielo, how are you both doing as humans? So not as like the student, the daughter, but how are you just doing as human beings?
Okay, well, I'll start off. As a human being, I am doing really well. I feel like I'm very comfortable in the place I am right now.
I'm doing well too. I'm really busy. I'm very involved in a lot of things, and so that's kind of keeping me distracted. But yeah, I'm doing pretty good.
Nice, thank you for that. I'm glad to hear that you're all doing well. This next question is for Sam, and then ladies, if you have anything to add, like please do so. So how has the work of the organization in Colorado Youth Congress shifted during COVID-19, and what aspects of your work still remains the same?
I'm actually going to pass it off to Rachel, who's a board member and a participant in CYC, and she can share a little bit about our shifts.
So we have shifted, of course, to online virtual meeting, campaign meets, and full regional meeting. And we've been using the platform Zoom, which we've actually used multiple times in the past when there's snow or like some other reason why we can't meet in person. This is actually really important for us to be able to do effectively because our goal is to be able to reach students across distance. And so we want to be able to have virtual meetings in the future, even when we can meet in person with students who may be living hours away from us so that we can create a network across Colorado to create something that crosses political lines, rural, urban lines, and kind of melds together different backgrounds and perspectives of students across Colorado to kind of create a really cool network of students and ideas and thoughts. As far as like what is kind of staying the same with CYC's structure, we're still meeting as a regional team. And our regional group is like the students that are in Denver. We're still meeting and we're still getting campaign work done. That looks a little bit different. It's more research oriented and kind of figuring out how to move forward when we can start implementing some of our ideas. But most of what we're doing now is just like continuing to check in with each other, meet up, and see what work we can still get done.
Awesome. Thank you both. Thank you, Rachel, for that. So this question, I think any of you can answer it, but I specifically want to hear from the students. And Sam, you can jump in too. But what are some challenges that you personally as a student are facing or your family is facing with the switch from in-person learning to online learning? What are some of those challenges and needs that you've assessed either as an individual, as a family, or as a community, or as an organization?
Okay, well, regarding education, I feel like mental health is what's mostly been impacting us. Since our lives have been drastically changed, and I feel like that makes it harder for us to focus, and it's been creating a lot of anxiety, stress, and I just feel like that's the most that has been the most affected during this time.
Yeah, piggybacking off of that, I've been seeing like a lot of lack of motivation. My sister is in college. She's struggling with that. There are also like all my senior friends are like, I'm out of here. I'm in college now. Why should I continue learning? So there's a lot of difficulty kind of figuring out how to motivate like myself and also like my fellow peers to continue like putting work and effort into school. There's also, I've been talking with a lot of teachers. There's a lot of like, people are missing that interaction between teachers and students. That physical interaction is really important, as well as the social interaction with friends that everybody is missing right now. And it's also, there's been an increase in like online meetings, but with online meetings comes like a feeling of isolation that doesn't happen when you're physically with a group of people. And so that increase in online meetings is tiring and kind of creating like a weird divide between like social interaction that we've never really experienced as students before. And so that's kind of some more things that we're all trying to figure out.
Thank you both for sharing that with us. We appreciate hearing your truths and your experiences. This question could be answered by any of you all, to be honest. Our next question being, how have you supported the students that Colorado Youth Congress does serve in navigating online learning?
Okay, I feel like we have helped students mostly through funding because economic has been the most impacted, and we have actually had stories come to us through the application, and there's an applicant that actually mentioned that they are going through a separation and the sole provider left their home and they weren't able to apply to any government help as it was all shut down. And I feel like we can help them relieve some stress because suffering a separation is already stressful enough. We also had another applicant say that they thought the coronavirus was only going to be a third world problem. And I think that helps us understand that this has actually come to us as a surprise and we were not prepared economically or socially. And we have tried to calm down all of the anxiety in families right now.
Awesome. Oh, go ahead, Rachel.
Sorry. Another way that CYC I think is helping students is that we're very community oriented. So our goal is to create that network for students. And so this is just another community that students can turn to if they need someone to talk to. They have friends in CYC. And so like having these meetings with campaign teams and stuff is just another avenue for students to be able to reach out to one another and continue to connect.
I want to be like you both when I grow up. You both are amazing. Thank you. And you both have touched on this a lot. You talked about the families you've helped, and I'm super all the way in, Sam. That was really great. I saw the initial letter that you sent out asking for funds. So I'm so super excited that those funds are being utilized appropriately in families and students that are in need. How has online learning been for you guys as individuals? I know you both are a little older, so maybe you don't require a lot of help from your parents to navigate the different things online, but I can imagine younger students, and I'm sure, I don't know if you both have younger siblings, but how has that been challenging for like your families? How have they come to help? But just how has it been for you, that transition, been for you to go from like in person? You've talked about some of the human interaction that's necessary, but we have switched and everything is virtual now. So how's that been for you as individuals?
Well, personally, school has been a lot easier since we've transitioned for me. I feel like I have more time management and I can actually see when things are due and everything. It's more easier for me. And socially, I feel like that has really impacted me because I'm more team oriented, so I need a team to help me out with schoolwork and everything. And I feel like that's something that has been on the downfall right now?
Yeah, it's been interesting. Some of my teachers are very on top of it, and they're like, "This is what we're doing. This is the week schedule. Here you go." And then other teachers are like, "I still can't figure out Google Classroom. Just wait until I do." And it's been like 3 weeks, and I haven't heard anything. Um, so I think it kind of varies from teacher to teacher and their own like technical abilities. But generally it's been difficult to like manage, for me at least, where everything is coming from, because every teacher uses a different platform. And so one teacher will be like, this is due on this platform that you've never used before in 2 days. And then a different teacher will be like, remember, you have this due. And so I think like rigor wise, it's a lot easier. Like I don't have to study for my math tests anymore, but kind of keeping track of everything is a little bit challenging. And then on top of that, we have all of the community groups that I'm a part of being like, how do we build community during this time? My principal is like reaching out to students being like, we want to hear from you. Like, what do you think? What are some ideas? And all of us are kind of like, we don't know. Like, I don't know how to build community during this time. So there's been a lot of brainstorming around that as well. That wouldn't be happening if we weren't in this unique situation. And so I think kind of adjusting to figuring out how to like balance everything is something that I've been experiencing.
Thank you both for sharing that with us. This question is for anyone. Is there anyone on the CYC team or in your community that you would like to highlight and give a shout out to during this interview?
I was on the climate change campaign in CYC this year, and we've done some pretty amazing work as far as trying to implement composting and other aspects of like recycling into our schools. We've done a lot of brainstorming and connecting with particularly DPS to kind of figure out ways that we can begin implementing more climate friendly measures within CYC. And then I've also been a part of a visioning group for CYC, which is kind of a mix of coaches, board members, of course, Sam, and then students who are all working to kind of re-envision what we want CYC to look like next year, to kind of work out some of the kinks that we've been experiencing for the past 3 years. So the idea is to kind of go smaller, work out a like system that we can kind of then expand to all of Colorado. But the idea is to make sure that we have a program that is effective and reaches all students across Colorado. And so that's kind of been the two things that I've been a part of that have been really cool.
Nice, nice, nice. Any other shout outs? Anybody want to give a team member or another student? Of course, thank you, Rachel and Cielo, for being on the call, but any other member of your team that you would like to shout out? No?
Yeah, what I would love to shout out, I mean, our CYC members that are gathering over Zoom, after a long week of remote learning, they still come on Saturdays to a Zoom meeting. And it's just really, well, it's heartwarming and encouraging to see the members take care of each other. And there's just like this shared understanding that we're all in this together. And then the way that comes across is just very cool to see, that I wish we could replicate in our broader communities. Is that, let me ask, rather than getting straight to the work, let's first talk about how we're doing as people, how we need support, how we can offer support. And just seeing that amount of love and support from members to one another is it's really heartening for me.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So this is a question for students, but Sam, of course, you can jump in. What are your hopes for the future of education after this crisis? And Rachel, you've alluded to some of this as you talk about like the need for community now and how much we're in a lot of pressure for that. But what do you guys hope to see after all this is done? I know it's a huge question and you weren't prepared for it, so we can take some time to think and process. I know it's like, how do you want to solve this? But just as a student, from a student's perspective, what do you hope to see moving on that would make life easier for the next generation or your younger siblings to come? Or for you even?
I personally hope to have more mental health workshops because I feel like during this crisis is when teachers and staff and everyone else is actually paying attention to the real issues each student faces. And I feel like we should focus on those issues all year long because you never know what students are going through. And I feel like that's very important to implement in education because it does help or affect the way students perceive learning.
Okay, I have a couple things. The first thing that I've found that I'm really grateful for is a appreciation for teachers that I've never seen before. I've always had amazing teachers in my life. I can't like think of one teacher that hasn't had some sort of impact on me. And I think I've thought for like many years that teachers are underappreciated, underpaid, you know, all that stuff. And so I think that parents and people around the world are beginning to understand how difficult it is to be a teacher. And I'm hoping that that is something that stays with the community, like the global community, is just like appreciating the people that teach us and like influence our lives. The other thing that I've been noticing is a decrease in importance of testing. So there's like AP tests are now 45-minute long tests that you just take at home. Who knows what that'll look like? I guess we'll find out. SAT testing, ACT testing, colleges around the world are like, hey, that's where it's optional. We don't need it anymore because you can't take it. So just like, don't worry about it. And then of course we have our April and May like CMAS testing that can't happen because we're not in school. So there's like all of this testing that for years people have been like, we can't do the way that we've been educating students without this testing. Like we can't accept them into schools. We can't grade schools and how well they're educating their students without like this focus on testing. And I think that with this crisis that we're having where we can't do the testing, we're going to have to figure out other ways to measure how effective our schools are, how effective our teachers are, whether or not you're qualified to get into college. And I think that hopefully this will kind of bring some ways that we can better rate, I guess, our schools and how successful they are without that dependence on testing, so that we can explore things like the arts and other creative avenues instead of spending like, you know, a week in April testing.
Thank you for that. All those things I agree with 100%. And it was great to hear directly from you all. I think your voices are extremely important. Another question that we have for you, and it's the last question, and any of you can answer, is what support do you need from your community during this time?
I think one thing that I found to be really helpful for me is including youth in decision making. There's a lot of higher up people in like administration and DPS who are like, okay, this is what the students need. Let's try to get it to them. And there has been a lot of like questioning on like, how do we do that? Like, for example, graduation, prom. There's been a lot of like, who knows how we're going to do graduation for a class of 2020, that kind of stuff. And adults kind of deciding like students need graduation. So like, let's do a virtual graduation ceremony. But like, I don't know if that's what the seniors want. And so I think that including students in those decisions instead of kind of making that decision and then trying to figure out ways to make it happen, I think is something that would be really helpful in making sure that we're working cohesively as a community instead of having like adults continue to make those decisions because that's what they believe to be the best for students. I think that kind of including students in those situations may not only give ideas, but also kind of explain what students are feeling like they need at this time.
Well, I have actually worked on developing a self-care workshop at my school, where we do multiple activities such as meditating, expressing their feelings, and finding ways to help each other. And I feel like that's something we really need from the community, since we never really know what people are going through, like I mentioned before. And I feel like having all of those things to support each other is key to surviving this crisis and further crisis to come.
Yeah, I would just say in terms of support needed, I was talking to CLO's, the leader of her school yesterday, and there will be cuts there and staff cuts. And I think we're going to see staff cuts across the board in education just because of the budget shortfall. And that's going to put a huge strain on schools. And ultimately, unless we get creative with it, students will suffer, and they'll suffer disproportionately. And so I'm worried that we'll see increasing gaps. And so I think in terms of support, it's just all of us coming together to figure out how to work together, how to get creative and cooperate with each other so that we can make sure that we can weather this storm and come out hopefully even stronger on the other side.
Y'all are so inspiring. Thank you. Thank you again, Rachel, Cielo, Sam, and the team at CYC. Thank you so much. We just want to let all the listeners know, viewers, that they can support your organization by, one, learning about all the amazing things that you're doing, but also getting engaged. So they can go on your website, and that's coyouthcongress.org. That's coyouthcongress.org, and they can support you there. And just learn about all the amazing things that your students are doing and all the activities they're engaged in. So thank you all so very much for doing this interview. We're really appreciative. And you ladies, I wish you best of luck in all that you're doing. Super interested in hearing more about your mental health workshop, Cielo. I don't know if I can sign up, but I want in. So
Yeah.
but thank you. Thank you so much, ladies, for everything.
Thank you.
Thanks for coordinating.
Yeah, thank you all for your time. We really appreciate it.
Thank
Have a good
you.
one. See ya.